Okay, I am live. Hi guys. Thanks so much for joining me, whether you're watching live. If you're watching live, make sure you say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you've got any questions at all, post them in the chat so that I know to answer them during this session. If you're watching a replay, thanks also. And likewise, feel free to post any questions and I will try and catch up on them after the fact. Okay, just let me close this so that I don't get any kind of, I don't put too much stress on my computer. Okay. Yeah, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jackie M and I used to own a Malaysian restaurant here in Sydney, Australia, until I gave it up 13 years ago to look after my son Noah, who's got Down syndrome. But what we're doing today, this is, by the way, well, at this particular time slot every week, and we do this twice a week for the record, I actually do a Zoom session with members of my school community. You can find out, you can join through that link, jackiem.com.au/school. And what it is a group of people who are serious about learning how to cook Malaysian food or who just need some camaraderie and some community support, right? So twice a week we cook on Zoom together. They don't always cook. I always cook. And essentially I kind of watch over their shoulder and we just banter, share our collective knowledge and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. So if you want to just kind of like get into the habit of thinking in the space of Malaysian cooking, we'd love for you to join us. Okay. So thanks again for joining us. And again, hit me up if you've got any questions. In fact, I should not have closed down that tab, truth be told, because I realize now I can't actually see your questions. But just give me a couple of minutes while I share this particular live stream with people on Facebook and all that sort of stuff. I used to actually multi-stream this across all my platforms, all my pages and whatever. But like now that I've moved over to OBS, it's a little bit tricky to do this multi-streaming thing, all right? And I'm being a bit cheap, not wanting to pay for a paid service. So just let me share my link now and u/live, or actually no, let's say youtube.com/JackieM/live. Hey, live. Okay, here we go. Is it pulling up? There you go. Next. And let me just tag, actually share it to my groups as well. 1, 2, 3. That should do it. And Annie is joining us. So Annie is one of the people in my school community. And also, not only that, Annie is actually one of the people who learned to cook through my my Malaysian Hawker Pro program. Okay, so let me just, change my, okay, so this is it. Again, thanks everyone for joining me and welcome Annie and anyone else is going to join us later on. Essentially what this is a Zoom session that's being pushed out onto YouTube, okay? But let me just hit record. Hi Annie, how are you?
Good morning.
So let me just start recording here on my OBS as well. So Annie, yeah. But yeah, guys, for those who are tuning in, like I said, what we're doing here is this is actually to give you an idea of what we do in our Zoom sessions twice a week. We all either cook along or we just kind of, I cook and people ask questions and whatnot, okay? So this is a special session. I thought I might just live stream this just to give you an idea. So people like Annie and whoever else end up joining us might just throw some questions live with us, or you might just want to sit back and just watch or whatever. And just for the record, Annie, as long as you're not you don't have a problem with it, because this is being live streamed, your face is on YouTube and on social media. Yeah. If you don't mind, that's totally fine. I just wanted to give you the heads up in case you prefer to turn off your video or anything like that. But so Annie, what we're doing here is I had a thought about what to gift for Christmas, right? Because I know you do a lot of gifting of food, because we've seen how you bake stuff and give them away to your neighbors and send them via Royal Mail and all that. For those who don't know, Annie is over in the UK. But what I've been doing, and Annie, you'd be familiar with my range of products, which are my dry curry paste.
Yes. Yes.
I had this idea, first of all, because IKEA had a sale on of all these jars, right? Which is I find this really annoying, this AI thing with Zoom. That's like every time I gesture, it thinks I'm trying to do something and it tries to actually interpret what I'm trying to do. Okay, Kathy's joining us, so let's bring Kathy on. Let's have a look. Carol's joining us. Yay.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
Okay, let me quickly grab my curry paste just to give you some context for those who don't know, yeah? Okay, hi Kathy, hi Carol. Again, welcome everyone everyone who's tuning in via our Facebook and YouTube and all that sort of stuff, right? So for context, Carol and Kathy, I was mentioning, you guys should already know, lately what I've done is produce a range of dry curry paste kits, okay? So these, you can buy them through me online and I send them out around the world, except the USA, because the US with the tariffs and all that are making it very hard for me to efficiently send things over to calculate the tariff and build them into my pricing, okay? But what I do is this range of curry paste, right? And then I had an idea because as far as gifting is concerned, over the holiday period, everybody gives chocolates and whatnot, right? People like Annie are very diligent in making Christmas cookies and Christmas cakes and all that, and she sends them to her neighbors and ships them via Royal Mail. What as far as my own personal experience is in terms of producing food and selling food over the decades that I've been doing this. I've been doing this for over 3 decades, obviously not all the way because I've had other things like, moving to the UK and whatnot and working in IT sort of stuff. But I have been doing this essentially. I've been in the headspace of Malaysian food and Malaysian food production for many, many years. Okay. And I've had all kinds of problems in terms of managing their life, their shelf life, and managing how to transport them. So when Annie tells me that she sends cakes via the mail, I'm like, I don't know how you do it. Like, the packaging and also making sure it doesn't go off. Obviously, in winter in the UK, it's a little bit different to today. We had 40 degrees heat here in Sydney, right? So we are very, very conscious about food that doesn't go off. Okay. So I was thinking about like sending, if I were to gift stuff. And for the record, these are all vacuum packed. So my products are all vacuum packed and they're fairly light. Okay. They're about 200 grams max, give or take. And they don't go off because they contain dry ingredients, okay? So over the years of food production, I've produced frozen meals, actually with the meat in them and all that, right? So I used to make frozen beef rendang, frozen dal and vegetable curry, which is one of the things I'm going to show you guys today. Frozen like chicken curry, fish curry, lamb curry, all that sort of stuff. And they used to go in these takeaway containers and I would freeze them. If you drop the box or whatever, when you're taking it out of the freezer and it cracks, you got to chuck it out, okay? Or worse still, if you're shipping it, right? Not just the whole idea of like packing it so it doesn't defrost, but also making sure it doesn't crack. It's a nightmare, okay? And then I went on to producing wet curry pastes, which are curry pastes that I sell mostly in tubs. I've changed their packaging a couple of different times, but nonetheless, they are not shelf stable. Okay, they're produced and they're fried curry paste, what we call in Malay rempah, right? A spice paste, which in Malaysia, unlike the Thais, if you know a lot about Thai cooking, I actually don't do any Thai cooking. The Thai curry paste, like their green curry paste, their red curry paste, they are made from like fresh like ingredients, and they don't fry them, right? They just kind of like cook it with coconut milk. Whereas the Malaysian style curry paste, we actually fry them until the oil separates or the oil splits, right? So that's what I would do. I would make these curry pastes for, like, instead of beef rendang, I turn that recipe so that I would just make the rendang paste. And what you have to do on receipt is that you add the protein and then you add the coconut milk and you simmer it till the meat is done. So there's that extra step that you have to do. But it means that I don't have to worry about buying beef and making sure the beef doesn't go off. And the spice paste, the rempah, is shelf stable for, I would say, 48 hours. Okay, so that gives you just enough time to send it to Melbourne, send it to Queensland, right? And then I always tell people on receipt, you have to either refrigerate it, or if you're not using it for the next 4 weeks, freeze it. Okay, so it has a shelf life. But that got tricky as well. Because of that shelf life issue. How do I send it to Western Australia, right? How do I send it overseas? I can't. And if I put them in jars, and I actually used to make jars of stuff like sambal belacan, tumis, the fried sambal belacan, and kaya, okay? I would make them in jars, label them beautifully. Well, I would like basically sterilize the jars and put the hot contents in there and whatnot. Very labor intensive. And then, but I would sell them at the markets. Okay, at the markets, they get dusty. Sometimes they crack, and they're freaking heavy. If you're running a market store like I do, you want to have as little bulk as possible. You don't want to be handling all these. And I used to put these in like these boxes, milk crates or whatever, and they're freaking heavy. They crack, then you lose it. If it rains, as like right now it's raining outside, and the wind and rain gets onto your jars, the labels get ruined and it's ruined. Okay, so all these, I'm telling you all these because for the record, for those of you who don't know, my school community, even though most people, well, not most people, half the people are just hobby cooks. The other half have aspirations to turn this into a business, or they are people like Carol, actually are in the business of food production. Okay, so this is my experience. And every time I talk about food, the way I approach it is through the lens of someone who is or who might want to consider how to make money out of food. Okay, so these are all the hurdles I've encountered. So my latest iteration of producing food is making my curry paste. So I'm going to show you how you can do this yourself at home today as well. Okay, but some, obviously I'm not sharing my direct recipe, but a lot of these have a lot of ingredients in them. Yeah, so if you look at them, like it's got like the dry leaves, it's got like all the ingredients. And the way you use these is that they're all in one. Okay, so these are all made with dried ingredients, got the spices, got the seasoning and everything else. And then what you do is you just, on receipt, you chuck it into, say, like a bowl or something, a large bowl, add some water to reconstitute it, to make it wet. And then you saute it with oil for a couple of minutes, right? That's really all you usually should need. Okay, it varies a little bit depending on it. And then you add your protein and you simmer it with coconut milk, and voila, that's your rendang or chicken curry or whatever else you make out of these. Okay, but we're not doing that today. What we're doing are food gifting over the holiday period, because I thought, I know we're a little bit late for this now, but in case you've got like some empty jars, or in case you live near an IKEA, for the record, right? I bought these 1 liter jars from IKEA. They're on sale for $2 each. Okay, so this is a good deal. They're usually $4, which is still not bad, right? But $2 each for these jars. They're a little bit large. And then I got these smaller ones. They're $1 something each, I think, from memory, also from IKEA. Okay, so if you're in the area of IKEA and you're in Sydney, you might want to check it out. Look for some cheap jars that you can get. And then what you can do, right? I've shown you here an example. And for the record, I am not, I have zero style, okay? My whole thing is that I don't have an eye for aesthetics and all that. So I'm sure you guys can actually do a better job in terms of making this look good. So what we're going to cover today is not how to make all these look good. It's more like the technique and the thought processes that go behind making your own Malaysian food gifts that you can give to your friends and family. Okay, so got that. Let me just change my screen layout quickly. Here we go. Okay, so these are some of my jars, and this is what I've made as an example. Okay, and I'm going to show you the ingredients that you might want to use for this. And let me just unhide my school thing here so that you can see. So those of you who are interested to join my school community, that is a very, very low barrier to entry to be part of my community of food. Okay. So I share a lot of these kinds of tips, as do my other participants in our school community. Okay. So this here is cold. It's been in the fridge. Okay, so it doesn't look as compelling as it otherwise would, but this is essentially the vegetarian tor dal dip that I serve with my roti canai, my restaurant. Okay, so this is what it looks like. If you can see it, let me just hold it up a little bit. Okay, again, this has been in the fridge for 2 days, so once you heat it up, it'll look better. And also, it doesn't have potatoes, but you can add potatoes. It doesn't have potatoes because I forgot to put potatoes in. That's all there is. Okay, so now, I've talked about these pastes here, okay? The way I would suggest that you approach how to do this kind of gifting is think of recipes that you can replace the fresh ingredients of with dry versions of themselves, okay? So this tor dal, the recipe ingredient list is very extensive, okay? It's very extensive. It contains ingredients such as, let me just pull them out of my pantry to show you guys. It's got salt. It's got seasoning, and because it's vegetarian, I use mushroom seasoning. Okay, mushroom seasoning. If you don't know what it is, just look up the brand Poloku, Poloku, or yeah, Poloku is probably your best bet. It's got fenugreek. Okay, it's got mustard seeds. Okay, so turmeric, and it's got asafoetida. Okay, if you don't know what asafoetida is, do a Google search, Asafoetida, asafoetida. It's got curry leaves, right? These are dried curry leaves. It's got, okay, let me show you the mushroom seasoning. This is what it looks like. Okay, this is the brand is Lam Yong. And it's basically it provides a flavor boost. The way I use chicken powder, as those who follow me know, I use a lot of chicken powder, but because it's vegetarian, we're keeping it, we're using the mushroom seasoning in lieu of chicken powder. And then it's got garlic, okay? And this is actually, instead of fresh garlic, this is actually not just dried garlic, but it's fried garlic, okay? Though having said that, you can actually just use dried garlic granules. I use them, depending on the purpose, I use either or, right? And then it's got dried chilies, okay? Now, my original recipe for my restaurant for vegetarian dal is that I use fresh green chilies, okay, or frozen green chilies, but I can't find frozen dried green chilies so far. If you know where I can find them, let me know. But in lieu of green chilies, I use red, okay? I use dried red chilies. And then if I were to sell this as a as one of these, right? This is what you would get, okay? But I'm not selling it as one of these. I'm gifting this, okay? And also, by the way, it contains onion, okay? This is dried red onion, which is actually quite amazing, okay? Dried red onion. And For this exercise, I also use dried onion flakes, okay? So any kind of Malaysian curry paste recipe, right? The spice component of it, you can almost certainly replace the fresh ingredients with dry. We're talking about even things like galangal. You can get galangal powder. You can get dried galangal. You can get dried lemongrass powder. Obviously turmeric. Okay, so this is turmeric powder, which I'm sure a lot of people would be familiar with. And then for my vegetarian dal dip, I use something called tor dal. You see the spelling, T-O-O-R. If you're Chinese, Malaysian like me, you are probably not that well versed in all the different types of lentils you can get at an Indian store, okay? So my Indian staff member from my restaurant days actually recommended tor dal. Before I used tor dal, I used to use chana dal, Channa, okay? And she recommended try tor dal, and I haven't looked back since, okay? So go to your Indian grocery store, look for tor dal. It looks pretty much the same as chana dal. So the only way you can really tell the difference is, to an untrained eye, they'll look the same. Just ask your Indian grocery store guy or look for the labeling, okay? Sometimes it's spelled T-O-O-R, sometimes it's spelled T-O-R, tor dal. And then what I do is just combine all these ingredients. If you want the recipe, let me. All my Malaysian Hawker Pro students should have the recipe, albeit the fresh variety, okay? But if you want the recipe, what I would do is I would combine all of these in here. So this here actually has the tor dal at the bottom, okay? Unfortunately, this jar is too big for this, okay? This is, when I first made this, we've eaten some of this over the last 2 days. This was a 2 liter plus portion, okay? So it's a heck of a lot to give someone, okay? So if you were making this fresh, it would like more than fill this 2 liter, well, this is a 1.8 liter thing, it would more than fill this, and it will be heavy and very hard and finicky, okay? But what you can do is give it to them in a jar, dry, okay? So what I would suggest is use one of these smaller jars, okay? You see this big jar, I can only fill about less than half of it. And what I've done, by the way, with tor dal, the great thing about tor dal is, although the ingredients are very extensive, right? The ingredients list is very extensive. All of the ingredients you can pretty much buy at an Indian grocery store. But at my end, with all the ingredients, the way I used to make this is chuck all the ingredients in a pressure cooker, or you can cook it on a stove, add water, and just simmer it till it's done. Okay, all the ingredients except for the fried onion. Okay, this is my hack, by the way. You're not going to find this in an Indian grocery recipe book. An Indian recipe book will tell you use fresh onion, and then fresh garlic and whatnot. I'm using all dried ingredients, and for the heck of it, I'm using 2 types of onion. Okay, the red onion and the white onion, and it looks pretty, right? When you're putting this into a jar, you're gonna see a layer of tor dal. You're gonna see the onion, you're gonna see the red onion, you're gonna see the garlic, and you're gonna see the turmeric and the mustard seeds, the fenugreek, the seasoning, a bit of salt, and the other ingredient I use is tamarind. Okay, so at my restaurant, I would use tamarind concentrate. But as far as tamarind, you have 2 options, right? One option is to use tamarind powder, okay? This tamarind powder is actually tamarind soup, okay? This is what the Filipinos like to use for their tamarind soup, okay? So you can buy this cheaply at Asian grocery stores. They're like a buck each or something like that. Just use a little bit, and what it does, it gives a sour note to it, okay? The other option is to use This is what we call asam keping in Malaysia. Okay, this is actually a dried tamarind uh, peel. It's a type of tamarind. It's not the same tamarind as the tamarind concentrate, but it works the same way essentially is that it provides sourness. Okay. So what I would do if I were you, if I were doing this, right, is I would have all the ingredients in here. The reason why I have the fried onion at the end, and this is optional, is to help thicken it up. Okay, because fried onion actually has provides bulk, and also it actually, if you read the fine print, it usually says that it contains a bit of cornstarch. Okay, cornstarch basically acts as a thickener. So if you're very light-handed with something like cornstarch, you can actually get away with using it as a partial onion substitute and partial thickener. Okay, but be very light-handed because if you use too much, your thing is going to be turned into starch. Okay. So, and this here, this tamarind slice, I know this from personal experience because like I said, I make my own range of like curry paste and all that to sell. Different brands of this, even different batches, have different levels of sourness. Okay. And the other, that's one thing you have to keep in mind. Second thing you want to keep in mind is that the longer you simmer this in your batch, the more sour your curry will be, okay, or whatever it is you're making will be, okay? So what I want to do is tell my recipient to chuck all of this in with the tor dal and all the other seasoning, the salt and the garlic and everything else. Simmer it on the stove or in whatever until it's soft. If you're doing it on a stove, or I actually did it in my Magimix at 100 degrees, covered, and in that kind of enclosed environment, right? It cooks faster, but it took over an hour. But I don't have to stir it, you see? So over an hour, if you were simmering this with this for over an hour, you might risk getting this become too sour. Okay, so two things. If you want it to look pretty, it looks nicer to have a nice little chunk of this in there. This is just powder. You can sprinkle some of this in. Okay, if you don't have either, you can even add like a sprinkling of lime powder, which again also is something you can buy at Asian grocery stores. Yeah. So what I did with this experimental batch was have all the ingredients in here and then have a separate bag. Okay, this is an ugly freezer bag. Okay, so don't get that. Get some nice, nice clear plastic, right? And put in some fried onion. Okay, and a piece of this tamarind slice, dried tamarind slice. Okay, and maybe just stick a sticker on it and say step 2, something like that. Okay, so I have all these ingredients and give them the instructions. Step 1. Chuck all of this in a pot with 1.5 liters of water. Okay, but if you're doing this, I would suggest, like I said, do a smaller batch because this is going to produce a huge amount of tor dal, and unless they live in a, they're a big family, they might struggle to go through all of this. Okay, so I would suggest doing a smaller batch, a half batch of this that will produce 1 liter of bulk, and that will be plenty. Tell them, chuck all the ingredients in, simmer it for an hour plus until the dal is soft, or pressure cook it until it's soft. And then step 2, cut up an onion, a tomato and a potato. Cut them into wedges, chuck them in, and add the fried onion and the tamarind, okay? And simmer that for a further 10 minutes until the potato is soft. And then, voila, you're ready to go. You should not need to adjust the flavor, okay? Very rarely do you need to adjust the flavor. That's my recipe for this. And that's what I managed to get, okay? This is as I've had Indian people, Indian Malaysians, eat my tor dal, follow the recipe, and come back and told me this is the most, this is the closest match to what you get at the mamak stall in Malaysia when you eat roti canai. Okay, so that's the exact recipe for it. So does that give you an idea of where we're coming from? The part of the reason why we're adding the tor dal in this is so that your thing looks fuller. Okay, so when people gift foodstuffs, usually they might give like a spice mix or something like that, maybe a barbecue rub or something like that. The portion is very small. You know what I mean? Even when you gift this, you can actually gift this. You can buy this. This is not particularly attractive looking, right? Because I'm very pragmatic. I don't have an eye for design or whatever. You can buy this, cut it open, and chuck it into one of these, and it will look pretty. Yeah. Like I said, this jar is probably a little bit big for it. But like if you were doing this and you chuck in something like this, or you chuck in rice, okay? Say if you want to do a think of a biryani rice or a nasi lemak rice or a garlic rice for Hainanese chicken rice. Think about that, right? So my students have all learned how to make all these, the fresh versions. But for you guys, right, Kathy and Annie in particular, Carol is part of my school community, but Annie and Kathy are actually part of my Malaysian Hawker Pro program. If you think about your Hainanese chicken rice, right? I haven't tried this. This is my theory. Hainanese chicken rice, you know, lots of garlic, a little bit of onion, right? And a little bit of ginger. And you would fry it up, right? The fresh ingredients with the rice and some oil, and then you put chicken stock in it, right? And also a bit of salt or chicken powder, and you just basically cook it by immersion method. So if you were to give someone Hainanese chicken rice, a serve of it, you could, in theory, put the rice in there with like, you know, dried onion, dried garlic, and dried ginger powder, just a little bit, right? And chicken powder. And you tell them, put this into a saucepan or something like that, add some water and some oil and saute it for a couple of minutes, and then add water or chicken stock is better, obviously, but you want to strike the balance between making things too complicated for the recipient and making it like taste good. You know what I'm trying to say? So think about it. I think it could work. Okay. The other thing you can do is do a nasi lemak thing, right? So again, the rice gives it the bulk, right? So you can maybe for nasi lemak, put the rice in the jar with so what does nasi lemak have? It's got pandan and it's got salt and it's got coconut milk, right? So in lieu of coconut milk, we use coconut milk powder, but we're not going to mix it in because remember the way I teach you guys how to make nasi lemak is that you steam it or you cook the rice as though you were cooking normal rice, except that it's got a bit of salt in it and some pandan leaves, right? And pandan leaves, you can dry your pandan leaves by microwaving it, or you can use pandan leaf powder, okay? I've made my own pandan leaf powder by microwaving the pandan leaf and blitzing it in the Thermomix and drying it in the microwave. Or you can buy pandan leaf powder from people like mybluetea.com.au. So if you think you get some rice, okay, so again, the rice gives it bulk, pandan leaf or pandan leaf powder, pandan leaf like dried in a microwave or dried in a dehydrator and tied into a knot, and salt. But then again, have a separate pouch of coconut milk powder, right? So you tell them on receipt, cook the rice per normal, and then when it's done, you stir the coconut milk powder through it, okay? And then if you want to make it even cuter, you can have a separate side jar for the ikan bilis, okay? Ikan bilis, you can pre-fry it, okay, until it's crispy, the dried anchovies. And then you can make the ikan bilis sambal, okay? So the sambal will be onion, chili powder in lieu of fresh chili or dried, reconstituted dried chili paste, okay? Onion, chili powder, sugar, tamarind powder again, or similar. And then you can, and belacan powder. See, practically a lot of things you can actually buy in powder form, okay? So this is belacan powder, right? So predominantly onion, okay? Again, if you want to be pretty, you can use the two different types of onion, the white onion and the red onion, right? A layer of chili, okay? Don't use something too spicy. Or if you like, you can use a combination of a hot and mild chili, right? And then belacan powder, sugar, a bit of sugar, and a bit of chicken powder if you like, and then tell them, add water, fry it with oil. And if they like, they can add coconut milk, which is how I eat it at home. Or if they don't like coconut milk, you can just fry it as is, which is how I served it at my restaurant. And if they like, they can add a dash of soy sauce as well. Okay, that's how I used to make it. Okay, so that's your nasi lemak kit. You've got the rice, you've got the sambal, you've got the ikan bilis. Then your friend will be very happy, and it saves you having to cook it, right? But also, you've got everything there, and if you don't want to see, so the final thing about this is using glass jars means that is, you have to package your thing properly, right? If you're sending it by Royal Mail, by Australia Post, okay? And also it's heavy. It's heavy, it's bulky. So if you like, you can vacuum seal it like I do, okay? So get yourself a vacuum sealer, vacuum seal all of this, and that's your meal kit, right? You can do the same with biryani. I don't actually personally cook biryani rice, right? But if you can imagine, pick any biryani recipe. I think the cookie do for those everyone here seems to own a Thermomix. Pull out a biryani recipe and replace all the ingredients with dried ones. Okay. Now, just as a guide, right? In terms of, let me just change my screen layout again to, yeah. Okay. Just as a heads up, in terms of substituting fresh ingredients with dry ingredients, how do you know how much to use? It's trial and error. Okay. Different types of ingredients. Basically, like, you have to adjust them differently. Okay. So many years ago when I started doing this, I remember I did it out of necessity. There was one time I used to hire a commercial kitchen after I closed my restaurant, but while I was still producing frozen meals, I used to hire a kitchen over in Chatswood, which is a very Chinese. Ask any Australian, they'll tell you Chatswood is a very Asian suburb, right? Very high-end Asian suburb. I used to hire a commercial kitchen there. And one time I was making rendang, and I realized that we forgot to bring lemongrass. Okay, I used to use fresh lemongrass. And you think, okay, Asian suburb, Asian ingredient, no problem. I searched high and low all over Chatswood looking for lemongrass, could not find any. Because technically lemongrass is a Southeast Asian ingredient. At least back in the day, 15 years ago, you couldn't really get fresh Southeast Asian ingredients. You know what I mean? In Chatswood. So I went to an Asian grocery store, and the closest I could find was lemongrass powder. Okay. So I had read somewhere that converting to dry from fresh, you use a 1:10 ratio. Okay. So if you wanted like 100 grams of lemongrass, you would be using 10 grams of, we notice you have, oh, okay, sorry. I'm just, yeah, I'm sorry about this. This is a stupid AI thing with Zoom. I'm trying to figure out how to turn it off. Every time I talk with my hand, it thinks I'm trying to put my hand up. But yeah, so that is kind of like the yardstick, official yardstick about converting from fresh to dry, right? Your 100 grams of lemongrass converted becomes 10 grams of dry lemongrass powder. And that was the ratio I used, and that completely ruined my dish, for the record, okay? So, so don't assume whatever you find online is the be all and end all. Depending on the ingredients, right? If you want like a fresh turmeric, for instance, right? And you're replacing fresh turmeric with turmeric powder, don't do a 1:10. You might end up doing a 1:100. Okay, so like 1 kilo of turmeric, you might only need like 10 grams of powder. Okay, but a lot of it is agaking. Okay, so I have got the formula for guesstimating how much, and a lot of it again is from agaking, which is guesstimating, and that's how we Malaysians cook, right? And you eyeball it and you think, okay, I think this needs a little bit more lemongrass or something like that. I'll just go chuck it in, and you make a note of it, and next time that becomes official. Okay, but play around with the ratios. But once you get it right, say for instance with my tor dal recipe that you guys have, or Annie and Kathy have, it calls for, I don't know, half an onion or half a cup of onion or 1 cup of onion or 1 onion or something like that. This is how much I chucked in. Okay, this is about the same amount of onion, but in dry form. But this is in dry form, but it's bulky because it's flaky, right? And also I like onion a lot. Okay. So I actually did a trial run of this, guesstimating, because I've never actually made a dry tore down spice mix, right? Did a trial run of this, and this is what I got. Tastes fine. It doesn't taste too oniony or anything like that. Okay. So this is, I'm just figuring things out as I go. But if you've got any home-based recipe, Carol, when I was in Malaysia, when I caught up with Carol, she actually gave me a pack of her curry powder, right? So this is the same idea, but just kind of like extended a bit, right? A bag of curry powder, you can make your own curry powder and gift it to a friend, stick it in the jar, okay? At the curry powder, at the recipient end, they have to do something to it to make it, turn it into a dish, right? If it's just pure curry powder, you have to add like the onion, the garlic, the seasoning, and all that sort of stuff. Whereas mine is, it has everything in that. It's got the curry spice mixture, and also it's got the onion, the garlic, the seasoning, and all that sort of stuff. So at your end, at the buyer's end, you just add some water, and then you add coconut milk and oil and the protein, right? So depending on how you want to approach this, it will be different, right? You might just want to give them your own spice mix of like sambal belacan or something like that, right? Or you want to go the whole hog and give them the tor dal with the tor. So you can make all of this, but without the tor dal, without the lentils, and tell them on receipt, cook it up, add the lentils and simmer it, right? But if you add the lentils, it makes your product look bulkier, and it's less work for them. Okay, so it's like at which point of the cooking process do you want to take this to? It's like a sliding rule. The more you do here, the less they have to do there. But you know, you have to kind of hit a midpoint at somewhere, right? The other thing that I was thinking that we can do in our next session maybe is experiment with some of these recipes. You know, guys, for those of you in my community, I was making achar the last week, the last couple of sessions. You can do that with achar too, right? So achar, the way I make achar is an iteration of the sambal belacan. Okay, so you guys know how to make my sambal belacan. For those of you in my Malaysian Hawker Pro community, you know how to make my sambal belacan. So you can actually buy my sambal belacan. Yeah, right. So this is like my sambal belacan. If you just add water, add oil, fry it up, that's the same recipe that I shared with you guys, albeit using dry ingredients. Now, if I add turmeric to this and I add lots of sugar, remember how I told you guys lots of sugar in my achar mix, and add garlic because this doesn't have garlic and my achar does. I think that's, yeah, and add some tamarind, right? A little bit of tamarind, but lots of sugar, maybe a bit more salt, some turmeric powder, because you want your achar to have that yellow hue, yeah? That can be your achar kit, okay? If you want to play around with that. And then you tell them what they do on receipt is they add water, saute with some oil, separately blanch some cut up vegetables in vinegar, and then toss it through. And then they just got to add crushed nuts. So you can also give them a thing of crushed nuts as well, if you like, with some sesame, some toasted sesame. And that's your achar kit, yeah? So I'm giving you guys lots of ideas. So whether you do it for gifting, like someone like Annie, or you do it for a business like, you know, Carol or Kathy or whatever, you know, so these are things that you can play around with, yeah? Because Kathy, by the way, for those who don't know, is going to be creating a course on what's called investment cooking. So this would fit quite nicely into her course, which is about prepping ahead of time, right? So my whole thing is prepping so you don't have to refrigerate them. Okay, so everything that I do that I sell and I'll make, I don't have to refrigerate them. They can sit on the shelf for like 2 years and they'll still be okay. Cut it open, add water, add oil, fry it up, and then add the protein and add the coconut cream. Yeah, does this make sense? There are other things, like I said, you can try with biryani, right? Go back and have a look at a cookie dough biryani recipe, your favorite biryani recipe. Obviously, you can do it for all your curries, right? So what I do here, you can do at your end as well, right? Your own, like, think how you make Malaysian chicken curry. Okay, you got curry powder, you got onion, you got garlic, you got maybe lemongrass, but add the seasoning, add the salt and maybe a pinch of sugar, some chicken powder, and then gift it in a jar, right? And that's your thing, right? So these are all Malaysian ideas. Obviously, you can do for CKT sauce. Again, my Malaysian Hawker Pro community know how to make my CKT. You can make the sauce and just give it away as a gift, but the sauce is sloppy. So I personally try to avoid anything that's going to spill if it cracks or whatever. Okay, I avoid these simply by virtue of the fact that I've had anything that can go wrong with any kind of delivery. I've experienced it. All right, I've sent like thousands of dollars worth of stuff to people who, to businesses who say that they came, like, they got damaged and I lost all my money and stuff like that, right? Okay. Does this make sense? Feel free to answer, hit me up with any questions, by the way, guys. Annie and Kathy and Carol, if you have any suggestions or any ideas, let me know. Yeah. Anyone?
Back to your achar, Jackie, the achar.
Yep.
How do you make it? It's sweet and sour. How do you make it sour apart from
The
tamarind?
sour is from the vinegar, so they have to
They
blanch
have
their.
to add on. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So
see,
you have three.
that's right. That's right. See, the way I did it, I mean, for those who don't know, I'm always trying to figure out new ways to do things to make life easier. But for simply put, what I do is in a pot, I would have a little bit of water and a lot of vinegar. Okay. So I've got like a 2 liter jug of vinegar. I might use 2/3 of that and then add another 1/3 of water, bring it to a boil, and then blanch all my vegetables, take them out. I literally just toss them in and then take
And
them out
vinegar.
almost
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
what I do while it's still hot, I add all the achar ingredients. So right now, the way I do it, my achar ingredients is that I add my cooked up sambal belacan, right? And then on top of that, I add a bit of salt, I add garlic, I add turmeric, I add belacan, more belacan, okay, in powder
Mm,
form,
mm,
and
mm,
I add lots of sugar and I toss it
mm,
through.
mm,
And then it will produce some liquid. Okay, I might tip
mm,
out some of the liquid because otherwise it may be sometimes you just gotta eyeball it and see. If it produces a lot of juice, then you might want to tip
mm,
some out. Okay, but the
mm,
idea is to get all that through while the vegetables are still hot. Okay, while it's still hot, it will heat through the turmeric, the garlic, and all that sort of stuff. I used to use fresh minced garlic for that, but you can give them garlic, the
yeah.
fried garlic, yeah, or even the dried garlic. I think the
Mm,
dried garlic might be a little bit too hard, but the fried garlic is more light and crispy. If you can
softer.
find fried garlic in your neck of the woods, try it. It's very nice. Yeah, but if you add all of that together with your achar, the amount of sugar in it will fill up this thing. Okay, so my little secret about achar is that I put a lot of sugar in it. Okay, so you've got all of that in there. Just tell them, fry it up. It will only take 5 minutes. Chuck this into a pan, add water to reconstitute it because it's all dry, and add oil and fry it up. And then separately, throw in
Gotcha.
vinegar vegetables. And I mentioned before what I've done with because when you're boiling, especially if you're doing a lot of vegetables, you might end up needing a lot of a big pot with a lot of vinegar that you use only once off and then you got to chuck out. Seems a little bit of a waste. What I've done in a previous batch is I've steamed the vegetables and just poured vinegar over it. That uses less vinegar. Yeah, but I found in the process of steaming, because I wasn't keeping an eye on it, I kind of over steamed some of the vegetables. But if you keep an eye on it, it might be okay. Yeah. So these
Mm,
are different
mm,
ways we play around with our recipes.
mm,
Again, like I said, but if you were adding peanuts and roasted sesame seeds, I would keep them separate. Yeah. Don't put them in together. Okay. So
mm,
these are all
mm.
the things you got to take into consideration.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's one way to make achar. Obviously,
Mm,
sambal belacan, just a jar of it. Easy peasy. Yeah.
Mhm.
Curry paste. It's got get the onion and all that sort of stuff. Here in Australia, you can buy if you want, if you're interested, you can go to shop.jackiem.com.au. I will sell you all these ingredients dry if you like. Okay. I know you don't find these at your local Woolies, and if you do, they're quite expensive, but I'm willing to part with mine. Just get in touch with me, okay? And I'll just create a listing for you. But these to me are great finds. These are like dried red onion. And it's actually, if you taste it, it's slightly sweet, it's very nice. It's not the same as these are like the commercial variety, and these are really kind of like to create bulk. Oh, that's the other thing I add to my achar as well. Like I add the onion at the end to help it stick together a little bit and to give it texture and bulk as well. Okay, so you can actually have have some onion in it as well. Okay, so that's the onion. That's the tour dal, which is this here. Like I said, it's not enough to fill up the whole thing, but it's got that separate bag that I can put on top. And what you can do is add a recipe card in there. Like you can put a little note inside, right? And that will help fill it up. And just say, oh, first do this, like chuck all this in a pot, simmer it with like 1.5 liters of water, or if you're only making half a batch, is what I would suggest, simmer with 3 cups of water until it's soft. And then for the last 10 minutes, add in some fried onion or whatever's in this bag, fried onion, a little piece of the dried tamarind, and tomato and potato, and simmer it until the potato is soft, not an extra 10 minutes. Okay. And that will be the tour dal or the dal dip. That will be vegetarian. That will work very, very well for your friends. Okay. Has this given you guys any ideas? What do you think? Carol, Kathy, any comments or thoughts?
Well, as you were talking about making acha,
Yeah.
I dug out my grandma's cookbook
What happened?
and I looked at the recipe, and yeah, it sounds like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the record, those who don't know, Carol is actually a Nyonya restaurant
Chef.
owner in KL. Okay. So if you want to join our community, look at my school group. It's only $9 a month or 99 bucks a year. And we get together twice a week. Usually we cook once a month. I actually cook a new dish and I teach people a new dish. Okay. So we're going to, because of the holiday season and everybody's schedules being a bit out of whack, we're going to make this month's learning session. Yeah. So I'll give you guys some recipe ideas. The other thing that I came across, because I actually went through my restaurant recipe folio from years ago, right? And tried to analyze. Well, obviously, for those who don't know, you can also do satay sauce, right? I actually used to sell satay, so I'll put it off my thing now because it's such a pain. But if you want to give satay sauce is very popular among Westerners. I know because I sell a lot of it. So satay sauce is actually like 80% peanuts. Okay, so you can roast the peanuts, crush them, add the garlic, lemongrass powder, lots of sugar, tamarind, and onion. Okay, and you tell them chuck this in the pan, add some oil, and simmer it for like till it thickens up. Yeah. So onion, I would add like
Yeah.
I would add the fried onion here to help thicken it up. Okay. Yeah. So these are some ideas, right? But yeah, one thing I went through was mee siam. Okay. So remember how I made mee siam in last week's session, and that I told you guys was my own family's simplified mee siam, and everyone knows if you're Malaysian that there are actually a couple of versions of mee siam. I used to make a version at my restaurant that was kind of like splitting the difference between the Nyonya version, which has the sauce with it, the tamarind sauce with it, and my family's version, which is dry. Okay, so my restaurant's version of mee siam was dry-ish, but it did contain one ingredient that I didn't use, two ingredients that I didn't use in last week's mee siam, which are tamarind concentrate and also minci, the fermented beans, okay, fermented soybeans. So if you want to make a mee siam mixture, I mean, if you can add the fermented soybean in here, it won't go off. But if you want to keep everything dry, you can have the mee siam ingredients again: onion, garlic, dried shrimp. Okay, blended dried shrimp in here. The sugar, tamarind powder in lieu of tamarind concentrate, again because you want it dry. Chicken powder, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And tell them to either add their own ground bean paste when they use it, add water, right? Chuck it into a pan, add some oil, saute it, add some bean paste, or they can use, if they're very, very white and can't get bean paste, then I'm sure they know miso, okay? You can get some miso paste, right? It's an adequate substitute for it, okay? And saute it and chuck in the noodles, right? And if you want to be even cuter, because mee siam uses vermicelli noodles, you can give them, you can like get a pack of vermicelli noodles and wrap it
And add it
nicely.
in.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Mm.
Any ideas? Any other ideas you can think of? What do you think?
I'm lazy. I would make stuff that, okay, that's because you're in Australia, so you're giving out Asian stuff. But because I'm in Malaysia,
You give up
right,
Western stuff.
I give out Western stuff.
Yeah.
So for Christmas, I'd make things like salted caramel.
Yeah.
And I give it away.
Yeah.
I make lemon curd, you know, and
Yeah.
people go,
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's
it's
the
quite
opposite
funny.
problem here. Like I could make hire for Nova's teachers that, but they wouldn't know what the hell to do with it. So I ended up giving them some some other stuff. I was gonna give them the tour dal. I made it because of them. I was thinking, oh, what shall I give his teachers this year? You know, I was saying, oh, let me make some tour dal, and I bet they'll throw it out because they don't know what to do with it. You know, so I have the opposite problem. You know, but it's just that's my vibe, isn't it? My whole thing is Malaysian cooking. So everything I do is around the space of Malaysian food and adapting it so that you maintain the flavors. You don't, I mean, everything is a compromise, okay? Even the coconut cream and the coconut milk we use in Australia is a compromise compared to being able to go to the wet market in Malaysia to buy fresh coconut cream, coconut milk, right? For your food. It doesn't taste the same, but you work with what you got, you know? So
I'll tell you that if you know, we like to use Kara. That's one of my,
yeah.
I know the Kara guys here.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're hard pressed to get fresh coconut, that would do.
Yeah.
Okay. But what you can do is to spice up the fragrance a
Yeah.
bit. Okay,
Yeah.
you wash a couple of pandan leaves
Yeah.
and then you salt it. You salt the coconut milk, and then you dump the pandan leaves in there and shake it about and let it infuse.
Okay.
That kind of like makes it seem fresh.
Okay. I shall try that.
I mean, I think you know what I mean, right? You just
Yeah.
wash it, clean it,
Yeah.
cut it
Yeah.
up, bruise it a bit, chuck it in there, and then make sure you use it up because it because it's
Yeah.
fresh pandan leaf if you get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. 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 No. So,
Yeah,
Kathy.
I think it's great. And definitely, because I think people like getting pickles as well. So I think acar is a nice alternative to that.
Yeah. I thought about making achar. Obviously, I mean, I make achar all the time to give away, you know, but like for the sake of keeping things like non-perishable. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
you can do the whole jar sterilization thing, but I think that's a little bit outside my comfort zone in teaching people how to produce shelf-stable, you know, stuff like that. So I'd rather we just do something that we don't have to tell people, or you know, you need to follow all these procedures to make sure that people are not going to die of botulism or whatever.
I think
How do I get your spice packs? How do I get your spice packs out in Malaysia? That is a
Oh,
question I okay, I would love to get some of your spice, your spice mixes. Um, and I keep on thinking that the Malaysian customs are awful. You know,
Really?
they,
I've
they
brought them to Malaysia before. I literally had people visit Malaysia from America at the same time I was going to Malaysia, and they actually ordered the curry paste from me online and said, "Can you bring it with you on your on your trip to Malaysia, and I will meet up somewhere and pick it up from you." And that's how we did it. So I can,
Mm,
you know, it's no skin off my nose to pack it with me, as long as I don't exceed my luggage allowance.
they
But yeah. If you select it from my online store and just select pick up, but just leave a note and say, "Jackie, can you bring it with you in your luggage?" So I haven't had any problems so far. Yeah. And in fact, I've actually had people ask me about Debbie Teal. For those of you who don't know, I'm
I
going to
signed up. I
Malaysia.
signed up.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, so I'll send you details on her address and whatever closer to the date. But for those of you who don't know, I'm going to be in Malaysia from the 8th of January for the rest of January, and I'm going to be doing a couple of things. I'm doing a big project in Perak, but before that, I'm going to be in KL, and I've basically organized with Debbie Teo, one of the most highly regarded Nyonya
sure.
people, chefs on the planet. She's going to be doing a special cooking session, cooking and dining session with the guests that I'm bringing along with me on my culinary tour to Malaysia. And because my group is very small, they've decided to open it up to more people. So people like Carol are going to be joining us, as well as some other people as well. So this is your one-off opportunity to get Debbie and me in the same room. I'm just going to be sitting and enjoying the food. But and also you can obviously chat with me about like all things food related, especially in the context of an overseas Malaysian doing all this in Australia, okay, because the landscape's a little bit different. I have had people ask me once I announced that Debbie was going to be doing this session, and also that this is a tie-in to the fact that she's actually produced her own nyonya paste, right? And those who attend this session will get to take 2 pouches of a paste with her. People in Australia have asked me how they can get their hands on it. If you're interested and you're in Australia, let me know and I can bring some back. Okay. I'll have to charge you for all of my effort, but it's there. Yeah, sorry, Kathy, I think you got cut off earlier. Did you want to say something else on
Yeah,
this
I
topic?
think it's like making a sauce. Sauces is also an idea as well
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like a char kway teow sauce or something.
That's right.
So
That's right. I used to sell the char kway teow sauce as well, but again, like I
Mm.
said, it's sloppy. You know, I know you can get like leak-proof tubs and all that, but the tubs can still crack. So
oh
I just
no, I got I washed out old like a
jars.
old no, like soy sauce,
Oh
not
yeah,
soy
yeah, yeah,
sauce,
yeah.
like a mirin bottle or something like that. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
actually, I think this one was a Worcestershire bottle, and I put it in there,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
good
yeah.
because it you can often get one that you can get the little dripper thing off, and then it
Oh,
actually like
okay.
does a yeah, it's good.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, yeah. For the record, guys, Kathy learned how to make char kway teow through my Malaysian Hawker Pro program, and now it looks as though her char kway teow looks better than mine.
No,
Okay. Yeah,
never.
yeah,
So yeah, but yeah, absolutely, you can make a
Yeah,
CKT
definitely.
sauce, you know,
That
and
was
yeah.
mm,
But yeah, there are a lot of ideas around food that you can actually gift, right? Because like if you walk into all the Woolies and like everywhere else, all the gifting options are like kind of all your fancy chocolates, right? And the thing is, I mean, I like the occasional chocolate, but Paul and Noah don't. And if I were to eat all the chocolates that people give to us as a family, you know, I'll turn into a blimp. So I'd rather, you know, gift people something that's a little bit unique, where there's a value attached to it, and also it's got your personality in it, right? So this is how
Yes.
I would approach this. So over the next week or two, I'm gonna think through how we can do more of these recipes and we can collate them into a little thing for our school community. And
mm-mm,
then you guys can add to it as well, you know, what else you would think about gifting food sort of thing, non-perishable. Okay, the key is non-perishable. And from my perspective, the key also is that it's portable. Okay, something that's not gonna leak in particular.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, but yeah, and like I
Well,
said, yeah.
I've got a reputation for giving away food as
Oh, yeah,
presents for Christmas.
sure.
But I think I whacked my knee, so I'm not moving anywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting anything.
Ang bao, ang bao.
Oh, that's so cold
least-
and impersonal.
Chinese
No,
New Year
no, no.
coming.
I would never begrudge anyone giving me an ang bao. Usually when people gift me stuff, I'm like, why did they give me this? I'm like, how am I gonna do with this? I know it's terrible, but yeah. So, but I think the dal is a good option because, like I said, the dal is something that you don't even have to like, saute with oil. It's just chuck everything in a pot, simmer it till it's done, and then yeah, and
I
then
have to
last
go.
minute add some potato and tomato and add the rest of the fried onion and voila. And if you're wondering why I'm scratching, I keep burning myself the last week or two from my business. That's the beauty of of actually cooking for a living. You end up with a lot of injuries, self-inflicted injuries and stuff like that. Yeah. So let's explore this a little bit further over the next week or two, and then we can compile a little like thing that other people can get their hands on. And for those of you who would like to keep in touch with what we do with school or even just to get the occasional recipes sent into your inbox, you can join my email list, jackiem.com.au/email. The trick is that because of security around email collection and all that, I'm making you guys actually confirm your subscription, yeah? Because what's been happening over the last couple of months is that people have taken advantage of my email sign-up form to sign up people's email addresses to my email list who didn't actually want to be signed up, right? And
That's
that
naughty.
causes problems at my end because
That's
the
naughty.
people who then receive the emails from me then accuse me of spamming. And that affects me because the company that I use to send out my emails say, you're not allowed to send any more emails because you're spamming. And I'm like, then we have to go back to the drawing board to prove to them that we don't spam. And the part of the process is to make people confirm their subscription. Okay, so if you go to jackiem.com.au/email, pop in your email address. That's not it. That's only step one. Step two is you see an email in your inbox that say, are you sure you want to sign up to Jackie's email list? And then you have to click on that. Otherwise, your email automatically gets removed from the system. Okay, so that's what I mean by double opt-in, because that's why you can't have good things, because people suck. And also, for the record, for anyone who wants to like try and hack me and whatever, for the record, I'm a former software Microsoft systems engineer. Okay, so whatever you throw at me, you're not gonna stuff me around for too long. But anyway, any other questions, anyone? Otherwise, we'll wrap it up here for tonight. I know I was a little bit cheeky to jump on you guys and say, hey, no cook along tonight, we're just gonna do this. But I kind of figured you might secretly appreciate it because with Christmas around the corner, I think everyone's a little bit tired of having to figure out, oh, what am I going to cook? Poor Jackie's going to cook on her own and we're just going to watch. So I figure I might as well do something that's...
Well, it's 5 o'clock here in KL and my kitchen has just started.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm going to put on my white hat, my white cap, and put on my apron, and I'm going to walk into the kitchen.
Oh, damn. I thought you were going to be like out of action for quite a few weeks yet.
I'm officially out of action because I can't drive.
Yeah. Oh, right, sure.
I can't drive, but I can walk. I can
Sure.
stand.
Okay.
I just cannot walk too much and I cannot
Sure.
stand too much.
Sure.
But
Fair
I'll
enough.
go into the kitchen and work because we've got 2 reservations tonight.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
So I've got to go into the kitchen. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'll just sit around and shake legs in a typical
Yeah.
Malaysian way. Shake leg. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't envy you. I know what it's like running a restaurant, I always tell people I quit to look after Noah, who's severely disabled, but I'm so grateful that I'm not still doing a restaurant. Okay, guys, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you,
if I
Kathy.
missed any, sorry, Annie.
I say thank you, Jackie.
Oh, no, my
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Yeah, I hope you found something useful, and I hope at least it gets you thinking
Take-
about, go back and visit some of our recipes, your own recipes, and come back and post in our school group, like what other ideas you think might work, or, sort of stuff. We'll experiment